Hello, Methow Valley. My name is Daniel Senner, and I am the Conservation Project Manager for the Methow Conservancy, and I'm a participating member of the Methow Bear Aware Project. I am sitting down today over Zoom with Rich Beausoleil, WDFW's statewide bear and cougar specialist. We're going to talk about our local black bears and the feeding marathon they're about to enter called Hyperphagia. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you, Daniel. Good to be here. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so I've heard this term hyperphagia, but can you break down what that means?
Yeah. So hyperphagia is basically an increased appetite for the consumption of food. It's not a term that's really specific to bears, but it describes what they're doing right now and through November or until November, which is incessant eating. So it really describes what they're doing perfectly right now. Bears right now are probably eating and searching for food for up to about 20 hours per day. And as we all know, bears are not picky eaters. It's really all about ingesting the highest amount of calories with the least amount of energy expended. And when you do that, you put on weight and you put on fat. It's not that bears are lazy. They're just in a race against the clock because hibernation is approaching, and they're trying to put on as much weight as they possibly can so that they can survive up to 5 months in the den. And don't forget, for females that are older than 5 years old, most of those will also be giving birth in the den. So they need a lot of calories, and they need to get it quickly without spending energy. And I liken this to you or I, Daniel, on a busy day, hitting the drive-through for a quick meal and managing our time so we can get on to the next thing. And when it comes to time management, bears give a master class on time management.
That's awesome. We don't have any drive-throughs here in the Methow, but we can definitely make stops at the Mazama store and fill ourselves up.
Yeah.
So really this entire summer, there has been a ton of bear activity around people's homes here in the Methow. And I'm just curious, is the Methow special in some way, or is this going on around the state?
It's going on around the state for sure. The first piece is this happens every year. To the level of which it occurs varies. We're finding that this is a little bit of a spike year. And part of that is because we've seen a lot of huckleberry crops. We've heard locally there in the Methow that the choke cherries are failing this year. So it depends on what's going on with their natural food supply. And if it's not doing great, they're going to search elsewhere. And so, that means the big three, in my opinion, are always garbage, bird feeders, both kinds, seed and hummingbird, and pet food, of course, but fruit trees. Garbage, bird seed, and fruit trees are really a calorie jackpot for bears. So when you look at those things pound for pound, an average bird feeder is close to about 2,000 calories for a 1 pound container. A pound of blueberries is 200 calories. So you can literally do a hit and run on 3 or 4 bird feeders, and you have just secured your ability to live that day. And now everything additional that you put on is fat, and you're ahead of the game. So the sidebar of this is to make your property the least attractive thing on the landscape.
Yeah, that makes sense then why they're so attracted to human spaces with all those calories just so available.
Yeah.
So what are just give me the top 5 things that people should go do right now in their backyard to keep bears away from their property and out of human food sources.
Right. Yeah. And the biggest take home message is do it preventatively. Don't wait. Just because you haven't had a problem, don't wait. because if you wait one day, you've waited one day too long.
Mhm.
So again, bring in the garbage can inside if you can, or lock it up in a secure location where bears can't get to it. Hopefully bear-proof containers. I know there's a mixed bag of those out there, but so securing your garbage, number one. Bird seed, please take those down right now. It's not a good time. Maybe come late November and then through March, you can go ahead and hang those and help the birds overwintering in the Methow. They don't need our help right now. So bring down hummingbird feeders and seed feeders. And then if you have fruit trees, please keep those picked as diligently as you can. And anything that falls on the ground, please remove that. You're going to attract bears, or you're going to attract deer, which in turn attracts cougars right to your property. So bears are 1-to-1. Cougars you attract through the intermediate species, which is the deer. But think about those three things, and then the fields of corn that might be out there, the pumpkins, the nut and acorn bearing trees, if we have any of those. Trying to think, barbecue grills, if it's the end of the season, clean those off and bring those in. Protect your apiaries, are a candy store for bears. Chickens right now are extra appealing to bears. And so if you do have apiaries or chickens, somehow get them behind an electric fence. And electric fences have come a long way. They're not very expensive. You can get solar powered ones. You can run one on a vehicle battery. You just have to maintain them. They take a little bit of work, but those are the kinds of things that, boy, if we could get a handle on those 5 or 6 things, boy, we would almost eliminate, and I'm saying this with a high degree of certainty, probably 99% of all the bear-human conflict that we have.
Wow, that would be really sweet to be able to do that. So yeah, folks, take Rich's word and get to work in your backyard doing all those things. Rich, if a bear does come onto somebody's property and maybe gets into some trash or causes even more damage and maybe gets into their garage or shed, who can they contact? Like what should folks do when that happens?
Yep. And remember, I'll start by answering that by saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of gold. And please be preventative and you'll never have to call us. But if you do have any kind of conflict, even sightings with bears, please call WDFW and make the contact, whether that's through your local wildlife officer, through your local biologist, or through one of us. We need to get those calls documented. It's so important. It may not even generate a site visit. A lot of times we can talk over the phone and talk about, do you have this? Where is it? Oh, okay. Well, could you take those down? But it allows us to keep track of those calls and what's going on. And the reason that's important is because, number one, so people understand that they're the cause of, in many cases, of the attraction and the interaction. Second, so we can address that root cause, right? It's not that you're never going to see a bear living in the Methow. That's why you're there, and I'd live there in a second too. But addressing those root causes of why there is conflict is so important. And then the last thing is, you've heard of this, of bears building up their behavior of getting used to people and associating food with people. And when they get to that stage, they always lose. And they're more often than not, we're going to err on the side of public safety, and we're going to wind up removing those bears. So let's not let those bears progress to that behavior. So even if you like seeing bears and you don't want to see them removed, we still would like to hear from you, because if you let us know that, we can avoid that progression in behavior so that your resident bear stays resident. And you could see it every now and then, but you don't have the conflict. And so again, keep your property the least attractive thing on the landscape. Don't give bears a reason to be there, and they won't be there. They can't. They don't have the time. So make them move on to places where food is more available, which will be the forest.
Okay, that's all great information, and we can include some contact information down below this video. Let's see, Rich, I had a follow-up question. Just give me 1 second here. Oh, I think I maybe lost it, so we'll move on to the next question. I've seen a new website being talked about, and it's Bearwise. Can you explain what Bearwise is and why it's a great resource?
Yeah, it's bearwise.org. It's a good website to learn about preventative techniques, how to live with bears, and coexist with them without having any kind of conflict. But Bearwise is basically a consortium of people like me who work for agencies throughout North America, because what we found is over time, we've all had our own goggles on and have put out our own messaging. And then another agency puts out messaging that's a little bit different. And what do you do? Should you look a bear in the eye, right? It's those kinds of things. How do you make yourself look big? What's the best way to scare a bear? All of those things, they were always a little bit different no matter where you went. So we decided we're going to form, and it was formed back east, and then it made its way west, but a consortium of wildlife agencies who look at messaging, who all get involved in refining that message so that we're all happy with it. And then in the end, we put out materials from Bearwise, but with my logo from WDFW on it, and someone else's logo from Montana, and someone else's logo from, down in the Southwest, but we're all saying exactly the same thing. And that is so important when people move around, people talk from different states. The education messaging will be very much more consistent, when it is consistent, it's more effective. And so that's what we were trying to do, and bearwise.org is the product of that. And so you'll see a lot of similarities between what you're seeing on WDFW's website now with what bearwise.org, and it's just more places to go for the same consistent message. And thanks for bringing that up. That's a good resource for people to really understand, and the people involved in it that poll all of us and bring all our comments together. They're just regular people. One of them is an author of the Living with Bears book. And so they make the messaging fun. It's technical stuff, just condensed into a really simple message, and it's fun to learn. And so there's a lot of resources for kids, and it's a great deal, and it's a good partnership. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Great. Yeah, and I will include a link for Bearwise down below as well. Well, Rich, I know you're busy because the bears are busy, and so we won't keep you any longer, but thanks so much for talking with us. And I think we'll see you in April for a Carulian Bear Dog talk, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. We did the denning talk here recently, and yeah, we'll do KBDs. But yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for what you do and for what Methow Conservancy does. And thanks for everybody who's watching and listening and passing these messages along. It's so important. So keep it up and have a great winter in the Methow.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a bunch. Take care.